just a researcher. In other words, I play one on TV. So I've had the good fortune over the last 20 years of my career to work in more than 100 prisons and jails as a researcher. In Wyoming, where Julie and I worked together for a decade, I had a headquarters badge, which was incredible. People used to say, Susan can come and go from the institutions like she owns the place. And it was, some kind of thing. But it was just wonderful because with the women, we were able to engage in what we call community-based participatory research. This flips the script on traditional research, where you have the idea of the researcher as this godlike, abstract figure seeking truth, and the subjects as the people who are being studied. We don't do it that way. Instead, we make it so the women who are participating in the project are also leading the project. And that's what you're going to see today in terms of the results. And we think you're really going to enjoy it. And while unfortunately we don't have the women with us today who created the beautiful work in terms of the words that you're going to hear, we will be recording so all of them will be able to see it. And we'll also be able to share it with women nationwide in correctional institutions. And I'm sure they're going to be so inspired by this. One of the things that Julie and I were able to do is to write a book called Outlaw Women. And this is about the lives and circumstances of women who are incarcerated in Wyoming. When we did this work, we came up with a theory that we called the architecture of gendered violence. And since this is a physical performance, I'm going to use Julie as my example to show you what this architecture is all about. And the story for women in Wyoming is just like the story for women in prison all over the world, whether it is Kenya, where I've also done work with women in prison, in Australia, you name it. What we see is this architecture of gendered violence has 4 sturdy walls. So if we imagine Julie as a woman in prison, we have one wall being violence against women, histories of domestic violence, of childhood sexual trauma. She's boxed in on one side. On the other side of Julie, we have struggles with substance use and mental health that make it hard to think clearly and make good choices. On the other side, we have the global reality of the feminization of poverty, which means that women often find it hard to make a living wage so they can support themselves and their children. Add to that, folks, the fact that most women who are incarcerated in prison are mothers of minor children under the age of 10. Completely boxed in now, Julie is by the modern-day scarlet letter of the felony conviction, the felony, the big F, that anybody can find out by Googling you, by running your criminal history, making it hard, if not impossible, to get housing, to get work that pays a living wage, then women are actually boxed into this horrible architecture. And Julie has done this work in so many capacities for so many years. Julie, please introduce yourself.
So, hello, I'm Julie Tennant-Caine, and I have spent the last 43 years working in the criminal justice system. So I have done everything from being an advocate before a crime happened. I was a city police officer. I worked in a county jail. I ran an adult community corrections program. For 10 years, I was the director of the State Victim Services Agency, and I've spent the last 13 years working in departments of correction. What my role is now in the department is I oversee 6 of the 21 prisons that we have in the state. And 3 of those are women's prisons and 3 are men's prisons. And in addition to that, I have a couple other responsibilities. But one of the things that I've been tasked with in both of the agencies that I've worked with is developing opportunities for women. Because, as Susan said, we know all of the challenges that face women who come out of prison. And many of those things brought them to prison in the first place. So what we do is we work on a concept called being gender responsive and trauma informed. And really what that means is just understanding that men and women are different, right? We can't continue to treat them the same in any given situation and expect that you're going to get different results. And then secondly is to be trauma informed. And what that means is just understanding that the majority of people, not just women, but people in general have had some kind of trauma in their life that impacts who we are as people. Women who come to prison are no different, and we're not going to know what those traumas are, but we train our staff to understand that trauma exists, and we need to respond to those women in a different way. And so what we do is we teach the staff to work with the inmates where they are, and we want to teach them the skills, give them the resources, give them the confidence and the strength that when they go back out into the world, they're able to, to raise their children, to have their children really, and to have earn a livable wage, and learn a good skill. It is a challenge, right? I mean, if you hire anyone, you know that people have to put that felony record on their application, right? So the first thing people look at is like, oh, I got a felony, what does that mean? Okay? That's where we start. So what we're trying to do is teach women to be a voice for themselves, to advocate for themselves, to be strong, not only in employment, but in the friends they choose, in the places that they spend their time, right? And we do that through substance abuse treatment and all kinds of things that we haven't historically done with women in prison. So what you're gonna see today is just a part of a program that we did. Susan started a program called Pathways from Prison, and it's still up and running in the state of Wyoming. If you wonder why Wyoming, that's where I spent all of my life till I moved here to the East Coast. So I'm a 4th generation Wyoming kid. So that's where I spent 28 years of my working life. And Susan was a professor at the University of Wyoming at the time when we started working together in that prison system. But Pathways from Prison took the opportunity to teach the women a course, a writing course, right? But also a therapeutic approach to telling their life stories. And that's where the book comes from, telling my story. And so what you'll see tonight is 5 of those women's stories in both word and dance. And I hope that you are as moved by all of this as I have been just watching these women do this kind of work.
And for those who are interested, there's a QR code on the back of the program, so if you want to see the original work, which we made the conscious choice to make open access, we hope that you'll take the opportunity to do so. Thank you for listening to us, give that helpful context, and I think you'll find the show very, very moving.
tired of this place.
I'm so disgraced.
Disowned. I deserve this.
There is no place to hide.
I still have to face the demons inside.
My failure, as I lick my pride.
The demons have won.
One by one.
I never get this torment inside.
It slowly eats at my humanity.
Filled with emotion.
Wanting to be numb.
It would be nice not to feel.
But that would be unreal.
I can't. I won't.
I need to feel.
Face my demons alone.
One by one.
To end the torment that lies within.
I know I can't just give in.
What else am I supposed to do? Burst?
Emotions keep flowing.
Painful yet growing.
I know I'm in this till the end.
Alone.
I stand up straight and give blows on my own.
This torment subsides.
In my undecided life.
No turning back.
Still learning from this mishap.
Either now we change or we don't. Either now we change or we don't.
All I wanted was for them to hear me, see me, understand me. Through all of this, I was raped, and these incidences encouraged my drug use and reduced my self-worth. I quit giving a fuck and thought, no one else cares, so why should I? I drunkenly hung onto my boyfriend's arm as we stumbled down the street, constantly forgetting where we were going and then remembering all at the same time. I wasn't old enough to buy cigarettes, so I stayed outside. The man in stripes asked me if there was anything else I'd do. I said yes. I left my boyfriend and headed off, fearless and afraid. The building was all too familiar. The crowd was all too familiar. I was oh so used to this environment. This was everything I knew and didn't want to know. 17 years it took me to try it, or even think about trying it. A split-second decision changed my life forever. Abyss. Everything can be taken from you, including your life. I was a female hustler, queen of destruction, a whirlwind of harm that left bodies behind. My crime is the ending. My demon, black shadows, sit on my right shoulder. I go to look at him and he disappears. I turn away from him and he is right back on my shoulder, haunting my peripherals. I will come out on top. I have strength. I will win this time. He thinks he's in control, but I have gained control. Conquering my demon is beautiful. In the end, my family is what keeps me sane. They are everything I need. We are all we've got.
Past to present to past. They blend. I've checked out too much to truly see what I'm giving permission to happen to her. Her brother steps in to stand for what's right because I have failed to protect them from evil in their life. The one thing I did right was to teach my son to stand up for what's right. And that's what's right is still the same, no matter how big a person is. I failed at everything, but words can't say how proud I am of my son for standing up for what's right and protecting his sister. I lost my children because I failed to stand in my beliefs that life needs to be better than the hell I knew as a child. I've always been strong. I've always been on top of it, always known what I need to do to take care of my kids. But with him, I was broken. I lost the ability to trust my own intuition. God, forgive me for losing sight of my moral convictions. Repeat.
Home was never a safe place for me. Not one adult or authority figure saw or intervened on my behalf. They turned a blind eye. Maybe they didn't want to believe it was happening. Fact 1, I sought help and ran away from home. Fact 2, the cops placed me right back in danger, even though I was getting the shit beat out of me. Fact 3, my mom taught me it was okay to stay with men that had sex with children. Fact 4, social services placed me and my husband in homes where we were sexually abused. My father and grandfather were two good, caring role models throughout my life. In hindsight, they have been two members of my family that truly loved me. I could trust and count on them. Looking back, I realize I should have told them, someone, anyone, what was happening to me. This, I believe, was my missed opportunity. They would have pulled me out. I know that if they would have known about my victimization, they would have helped me and gotten me out of there.
My pond is quite large and swampy looking and smelling. My feet are sinking in the mud as my toes are spreading apart. The milky muck slimes through each one. My body so heavy and the muck is getting deeper. It is so quiet. All I can hear is frogs croaking as the mosquitoes suck my blood one by one, making me smack and scratch, causing more scars with my nails all over my body. I try to keep moving around the edge of the water, but with each step it's getting harder and harder to pick my legs up and my feet out, one by one. Finally, falling over head first, slamming my face off the water as a snake wraps around my neck, squeezing tighter and tighter. I feel the air seeping out of my chest. Oh no, is this the end? Will I ever survive if I never see them again? As I lay here on my bunk in my 6-foot cage, trying to get past all my hate and rage, wondering will my kids ever forgive me for being in this prison of hell that I've created within myself, hoping that they will understand my addiction has nothing to do with them. It's been a demon that I once called friend, only because she is always there waiting for me to give in. Please know I've been dealing with this demon long before I ever dreamed of having them. Yes, my 4 sons mean so much more than this demon I hold within. That's what brings me to the crossroads in my life once again. I have a choice. I must choose. Before the train leaves me alone on these tracks that sing my blues, life or death, joy or misery, my children or only their memories. I'm pregnant and in orange. The only thing missing are the handcuffs and shackles. It is 4:30 a.m. and a female officer came to my cell door. She told me to pack up. It's time. At that moment, my heart skipped a beat, and then it was beating fast and hard. I'm gathering up my things, blankets, toothbrush, jailhouse toothpaste, and a small 4-ounce clear cup, and my indigent shampoo and soap. The officer is rushing me. We have a schedule to follow, and if we don't hurry, we will be late. So I hurry. Finished gathering my things and dressed in my orange uniform, only to be stripped again for transport. I am scared as hell, not knowing how to feel or what to say. I'm feeling a lot of different emotions all at once. Anxiety, fear, loneliness, excitement, happiness, guilt, regret, and a lot of shame for being here in prison and having my 4th son because I gave in again to this demon I hold within. Even though I've been pregnant and have given birth 3 other times before, this is the first time that I'm doing it alone and in prison. As I'm escorted outside, it is dark and raining. I soaked up the fresh air as I waited to get into that state car. All I really wanted to do was to drop to my knees and cry and cry. Instead, I had to hold it all together like everything was fine. So I held on tight to all my anger, fear, guilt, shame, loneliness, and regret. I held my head up and acted like everything was okay, even though I was really falling apart inside. On the drive to the hospital, I'm excited to finally be able to meet, see, and hold this little life that has grown inside me for the last 9 months, showing me every time he moves or kicks me from time to time that there is more to life than an ounce of dope, needle, and spoon. Still, I am not sure that 24 hours after giving birth, I'm going to be ready or able to hand over my newborn son, only to have him bond with my older sister instead of me, his mommy. Here I am, once again, left with this familiar pain that cuts through my soul. My heart breaks. Even more than it's already been broken, my soul aches with shame and despair. When we arrive at the hospital, I'm escorted by a nurse and an officer to the delivery room. The room is nice and big, but empty and cold. There are 2 flat-screen televisions, a brown leather couch, a chair, and a female officer. All I wanted to do was to call my mom or dad so they could tell me that everything was going to be okay, as they've always done up to this point, when I needed them most. Knowing that I couldn't was devastating. I do the only other thing I know to do. I talk to God and find comfort in knowing there is more to this than meets the eye. I also start to find comfort in the officer who stands guard over me. I make jokes and find light in the situation. We talk a little and watch television. As the officer calls and checks in with the prison every hour on the hour, I'm left alone with my own thoughts and feelings of embarrassment, shame, and guilt that flood my mind, heart, and soul. It is so overwhelming. I feel like I am crawling out of my skin. The doctor finally comes in with the news that I am going to be released to go back to prison. Other patients who went into labor unexpectedly have shown up, and they need my room. So they will start to induce me again in the next day or so. It is a security risk if I know exactly when I will be transported. So after finally starting to accept everything that's about to happen, I get sent away as if I were unimportant and not as worthy as the other women that were not inmates. No matter how hard I tried to get a hold of myself, I was never really mentally or emotionally ready or prepared to go through this. By the strength that is so freely given to me by the grace of God, I did get through it alone. After watching my 3 older sons grow and become young men through pictures my dad and brother would send to me, as well as having my 4th son in prison, I knew I had some choices. I had to choose life or death, my children or my addiction. I thought I was having so much fun getting high, when in all actuality, I was unknowingly creating a state of misery inside my heart and mind. Over time, that damaged my soul. I am tired of hurting from the pain and heartache that cut deep from head to toe, from all my regret, shame, guilt, fear, and living day in, day out with this big hole in my heart, an emptiness in my soul. I chose my children and life to live again. I wasn't able to see my 3rd son crawl, grow, walk, or become the little amazing boy that he is. I was unable to be there for my 2 oldest sons when life is most crucial for them as they become young men, missing out on the only thing I really know in life without the drugs and men, and that is being a mom, a mother to the lives that I helped create. Now here I am, handing over my newborn baby boy to the nurse, only to wait for my mother, sister, and 5-year-old niece to come pick him up and take him home to be loved and cared for without his mommy. Meanwhile, I'm escorted back to prison in my cold little cell. Now I sit alone again, with reality smacking me in the face from all the choices I made. Choices that have become regret, shame, guilt, and a whole lot of sleepless nights, crying, endless tears. Finally, I'm able to express my feelings and share my guilt and shame without having my scapegoat to shove in my arm and run from all my mistakes. Here and now, I'm stuck with me and my rawness, wanting to change for the better and be somebody that my children will be proud to call mom. So I start from the beginning, talking about myself from my childhood to my teen years, to my cellmate, as well as in group settings. I had come to accept this past I created and shaped by knowing and understanding that my past is just that, my past, which can never be gotten back again. I know that my mistakes don't have to define me, especially with all the hurt I have experienced and dealt with on a daily basis. I've chosen to allow it to motivate me instead of allowing it to hold me back, especially with the support of my family, friends, and all the educators that cared enough to help me succeed. with my dad, mother, brothers, sisters, uncle, cousins, and the voices of my children, nieces, and nephews, I have learned to become okay with who I am and where I've been. I have faith in where I am going in my life. From a quote my dad had sent me, to finally move on and start something new, you must release the unchangeable past and embrace your future. It's not about the mistake. It is all about the lesson. It's not about the direction. It's about the journey. The best things can come out of the worst situations. I found coming to prison to be a very, very positive experience, which is hard to believe, even for myself. When I was first sentenced to prison, I was so ashamed. Then after getting here and getting involved, doing things I wouldn't have even thought of doing or succeeding in, I've done and succeeded. I can honestly say that I've found inner peace within myself. I've been productive and successful in everything I've done here in prison. Who would have thought I would go to prison as an uneducated addict and leave prison as someone who is college educated and certified in welding? Or the thought of anyone that comes through the back doors can even be rehabilitated in a place like this. Hey, it is more possible than you think. I've obtained and maintained my GED, CRC, Career Readiness Certificate, CORE, and the Intensive Treatment Unit for Addictions, where I learned who I really am without all my many masks. Now I'm leaving as a certified welder with 12 college credits and 1 college credit for a writing class.
Thank you, Jesus, for my many blessings and opportunities. If you never give up, you can never really lose. If my story touches just one woman, just one person, it is all worth it. And if my children read this story, no matter the situation or reason, right, wrong, or indifferent, I just want them to know I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the tears. I'm sorry for the pain. I'm sorry for the sorrow. Any self-doubt I may have caused by not being there, because I'm here. I think of you all every day. I miss you like crazy glue. Words could not express how much I love you all. But I will show this to be true with my actions, not my words.
lesson number 2. Time equals relationship. Bonds are built by time spent together. Some develop by default. Be conscious of the difference. How did I get here? How did this happen? If morbid curiosity drives you, don't ask. I held the gun for a man I was consumed with keeping. When the judge called me selfish, I felt the need to defend. There is no defending what I did.
The hardest one lesson, number 3. Make your own choices. He said he'd take care of us. On the run with no money or direction. We were Texas fugitives. Our crimes were senseless and so we're scared. Silence is consent. You're not off the hook. You don't choose or let others choose for you. There are consequences to pay no matter
Hard one lesson number 4. Love is a choice, and that choice is a privilege. Use it wisely, treasure it. Sherry's my mentor, signed by a privatized halfway house. Rare for a long-term inmate. I applied, and God placed her with purpose. She and Charlie took me on as one of their own. A family that God gave to me to help mold me into the woman that He wants me to be. How different the world would be if all inmates had such people in their lives. If all people had such people in their lives. What did I do to deserve that? Why visit a woman in prison for a violent crime? Against an older couple like them, no less.
Hard one lesson number 5. Intention is meaningless unless followed by action. What I did was evil, but I didn't mean to hurt them. The outside world hates us. What keeps us going? Why do we keep trying? Not long after I arrived, I made a real and practical decision. Suicide or surrender. Those who have been in the depths will understand. I cried out to God and asked Him to take my life if He wanted it. I begged Him to make it stop. Let me sleep and never wake up. My life wants to survive. It matters very little how we feel about it.
Hard one lesson.
6.
Yesterday was practice for today's performance, and today for tomorrow's. My freedom will come. Each day I practice spending it. Won't be defeated by prison or what I did to get here. This is not the sum total of my life. For every woman who walks out of these doors, I don't say good luck. I don't believe in luck. I believe in choices. I believe in God. This is my message to you. Move forward. Love your people and your days. Do good things. Whatever happened yesterday, let it make you better. Do good things.